What's up, guys? Simon, another entrepreneur video here, and I hope you stick around to the end for this one. We're going to discuss why salespeople burn out. I'm going to share some of my experiences with salespeople, some of the best I've seen and hired, and salespeople that had a lot of potential but have not done anything with their career in my business and other businesses that I have seen or have friends who have had businesses and salespeople in those businesses. So salespeople burn out all the time. It's in fact one of the most turned over jobs out there, with nearly 35% of salespeople constantly being turned over in their jobs. And they could be doing great for a period of time, and then all of a sudden they would flatten out, and the managers will not understand what the heck happened to their top salespeople. In this video, we're going to go ahead and cover some of the reasoning salespeople burn out. Going to give you my opinions on it, going to give you advice how to get back into it, and share some of my experiences. Before I go into this video, I always ask, the biggest favor you could do for me is hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Don't burn the like button out, but just show some support if you do appreciate this type of content. And let's get into this video. Okay, so sales is one of the hardest jobs. In fact, partly in everything you do in your business as an entrepreneur, there's a sales aspect or component in it, okay? You're either selling a product, you're selling a service. If you're an entrepreneur that's starting out, you're doing it all, including sales.
Yeah, okay, then give me a second to find you here. My computer's running a little slow today. Wake up, fella. Oh, there you are.
So it is exhausting. How many times have you pitched your product, taken that phone call for 1 hour to hear what the person needed, to give them an email of the pricing, a presentation, gathered a proposal, created a proposal from scratch, hired people to create a proposal, and then at the end of that process, you did not close that deal?
Fellas, you just ran out of time.
How many times have you closed several deals and then all of a sudden someone calls and says they're canceling the service, maybe because of something you've done or maybe something irrelevant, that they're going out of business, etc.
My store is closing this week. I'm heartbroken.
And you feel bad, etc. Sales is a cycle that is constantly changing, and it requires some of the most toughest mindset individuals to continue going day after day, hitting their quota month after month and quarterlies.
I can't do this anymore, man. My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going.
It's exhausting. I've personally have done it. I don't mind doing sales, but in the beginning you have to do sales, and you got to prepare yourself mentally for taking no's. I've done cold calling as well, and I've excelled at that and trained people to do cold calling. I've done and hired sales teams up to 25 or more people at one point. I've hired salespeople internationally. I've hired salespeople domestically. And the common thing I see with salespeople is they burn out and don't perform like they used to. Now, when we talk about sales turnover, that's not necessarily a negative thing. I remember one time in one of my businesses, I had about 10 employees, and I fired all of them at one time to start from scratch. In fact, I picked up work that I did not remember how to do for years, and I had to do all these things for that particular job, but I needed a fresh start. And the fresh start is a good idea. So if you have salespeople that are not performing, you may need a fresh start, get everything started back up, and re-strategize, plan your business to grow again, because the stagnant salespeople are not going to take you to that level, and they may not change, even though I'm going to give some tips on how to turn it around. So remember, stagnant salespeople turnover is not necessarily a bad thing. Losing high performance salespeople to another company is definitely painful. So a burnout is an emotional state. It's prolonged by stress, by continuation, lack of change, and it's repeated exposure to the stresses that happen during the sales job. High stress, high pressure environments are the leading cause of salespeople burning out. Good salespeople who have performed are important to hold on to, even if they have hit a rough patch, because they have proven that they could do it. They've done it in the past, and all of a sudden they're going through something. It could be a family thing. It could be they're having problems at home, anything related to health. But you have to give those salespeople that are proven an opportunity to rebound. The number one thing I've noticed when salespeople burn out is they don't have the right leadership or mentorship. There's no one watching them. There's no one encouraging them. There's no one making sure that they're hitting their quotas. If you don't have a good sales manager, or if you're not monitoring your salespeople and making sure they're constantly pushing, 8 out of 10 salespeople are going to fail. There are salespeople that are self-managed that do much better at being self-managed because they're hungry, they're motivated, they want things in life, and they're working for those things. But the other 8 individuals that are going to fail need someone to kick them in the butt and make sure that they are being stayed on top of, to make sure that they're hitting their quotas and they are performing.
I just stare at my desk, but it looks like I'm working.
If you're not doing that for the salespeople, then you're going to have a hard time having self-motivated salespeople. Those are what I call unicorns. I've personally hired those individuals. In fact, I have a story. There's a salesperson that I have in the Philippines. I'm not going to mention her name. She's great. But she outworks any salesperson I have ever met in my life. And she is self-motivated. And I'm trying to convert that salesperson to be a manager or a team leader to motivate others.
I just love sales. I love it to death. It's as simple as that.
That's the type of individual that's a unicorn. That individual will get the numbers no matter what. They'll figure out a way, and you don't have to stay on top of them. I've had salespeople on the other end where I would have to check in daily with how many calls they made, how many emails they sent, have they followed up with their clients, how many times have they followed up with their clients, have they attempted to take 3 no's before they would move on to the next client.
I'm boring myself just talking about this.
There are salespeople that need absolute babysitting. In my opinion, those are not the most effective salespeople. They require all of your attention. And when your attention is on them, it's not on growing your business necessarily to things that you could be doing with partnerships and so forth. So try to get salespeople that are highly motivated to perform. So as a mentor, a team leader, you have to be there for those type of salespeople, or hire a sales manager that will constantly re-motivate that person. So if they get hung up on a cold call, or if a call went bad, they're encouraging and rebuilding their mental psyche right back up to make sure they're ready for that next call or that next meeting, etc. And I personally have been stomped with business before by a CEO or someone higher up coming in saying, "Hey, what the hell are you talking about?"
Boy, I'm really at a loss for words here.
To the point where I walked out of that meeting and said, holy moly, this is on a different level. I wasn't ready, I wasn't prepared, etc. I had to rebuild myself for the next meeting and continue moving forward. That's what a sales manager or sales leader does for their sales team. No one is 100% in closing any deals. In fact, maybe 1 out of 10 cold calls will get through. So you really have to be motivated, or have someone to motivate you constantly and remind you of the positive things you're doing or the chances that you're making to close that deal.
For years, I've been telling you guys never to take no for an answer, right? You know, to keep pushing, to never hang up the phone until you get what you want.
Another thing that salespeople burn out at is not having the right tools. Personally, as an example, I had a website that was selling products on the internet. This website, after my attention became focused on a different business, became slow. And it became stagnant, meaning it took forever for the page to load in the checkout screen. The salespeople that were taking orders over the phone would take 5 to 10 minutes to place an order. They became frustrated. They didn't have the right tools to close the order, to stay energized and motivated. In fact, they would get distracted. Up until it was a little bit too late, that's when I realized this is happening. And it took several months to turn this system around and roll into another web development platform or a website e-commerce platform that was efficient, fast, etc. So during that time, a lot of my salespeople got demotivated. So when you're attempting to cut costs and you don't give the tools to your salespeople, guess what? They're going to be frustrated if you don't have a manager to continue to motivate them. If they see through the thin line of you just stalling or wasting time with a system, e-commerce platform that's not working, if you're using a dinosaur platform and they don't have the right tools to be the success that they are, not just materials, but also from strategy to cold call planning to closing to follow-up to retention to client satisfaction, etc. Those salespeople are going to leave your company and go to a company that is more prepared and has a better strategy with obtaining their clients. So decreasing administrative strain or additional steps in the sales process is great. And that's why Salesforce is one of the most highly Successful companies, because that's what they do with their sales teams, is try to streamline the sales process through their CRMs.
We're this year celebrating our 10th year as a public company, and we've seen a phenomenal amount of growth over that last 10 years. Now we're one of the 10 largest software companies in the world.
Another sign of a salesperson that burned out is they don't know how to measure their success. If you're lacking that management side of it, then that salesperson doesn't understand what success is.
Let me tell you something. There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I chose rich every time.
So that is your responsibility as an entrepreneur or a business owner to give that salesperson an understanding of what you think their success is. And for salespeople, the success generally is measured by sales numbers. In every single business that I've experienced, it's always what's your monthly revenue, what's your quarterly revenue, what's your commission, what's your profit, etc. But it goes beyond that. You should be looking at success for a salesperson in terms of opportunities opened, opportunities closed, how many meetings have they scheduled, demos, emails sent, responded to quote requests. And the big one that a lot of people don't do is customer follow-up and retention, and asking for referrals, which could grow your business immensely. Another point that I see with salespeople burnout is they simply don't care.
Don't care? It's a problem of motivation, all right?
They don't care about their professional development. They're really just giving up. That is one of the most dangerous salespeople to keep around, in my opinion. When a salesperson shows a lack of care, quality, that means they may be beyond that saving point. So be careful with those individuals. Lack of motivation in salespeople, you could try to turn around by, let's say they've been a good salesperson before, but not anymore, by asking them to take some days off, refresh, reset, etc. Then you got to put them on performance plans and monitor their behavior, which may not sit well with them. And then you have to discuss parting ways, because you're wasting your time and that salesperson's time if they just don't want to do the work. Negative salespeople. Oh my God, I've seen salespeople turn positive and I've seen people turn negative. And the worst is when a great salesperson all of a sudden becomes the cancer at work or turns negative. And that usually happens based on something that they feel is wrong with you or you've done. Maybe you don't have product there on time, maybe you don't have the tools, maybe the website's lagging, etc. It could be anything.
I've watched you screw up this office for 10 years, and I'm filing a lawsuit, and I'm gonna tell them about every stupid thing you've ever done up in this office.
All right. But as soon as a salesperson turns negative, they affect other salespeople, especially if they all work in the same office. You got to be very careful with that. You have to turn that around by taking their feedback and trying to turn it into a positive. But I'll tell you what, once a salesperson turns negative and stays in that negative mode for a while, they're going to come back to that mode and cost you money. What about the salesperson that is unwilling to change? So they were doing things their way for a long period of time. They were successful, but things have changed. The business has changed. The strategy has changed. The motto has changed. And now they're no longer killing it. And someone new has come in and they're destroying it and they're jealous of their success. Have you ever heard of this scenario or experienced it? The ones that are not willing to change and adapt are some of the most difficult salespeople to continue to blossom. And there are things you could try to do by sitting down and talking to them and explaining to them that change is inevitable. And if your company doesn't change, you're going to fail and so forth. But a hard-headed salesperson is going to be a salesperson that's eventually broke. So unless they were a top performer for you, where you need to convince them that the change is positive, I suggest you let that salesperson go. They're burned out, way beyond repair. How do you create a recovery from burnout individuals? We talked about so many different scenarios. Well, one, you need to hold meetings. You need to make sure you hold meetings not only as a group, but you hold meetings individually with that individual to monitor their progress. You have to make sure that they're on a positive path of getting A grades again, or getting those big deals again, or getting things that you want done, meeting your goals, not their goals, your goals necessarily, but they have to feel like they're meeting their goals. So you have to trick that individual to make sure they understand that the goals that you're setting are better for them and ultimately they're great for you. You got to encourage conversation about burnouts. Salespeople are going to burn out. It's a fact. You need to make sure they voice it to you and you understand where they are so you could help them. And lastly, you got to lead by example. If you are not a owner or entrepreneur that's going to lead by example in any means necessary, your salespeople are not going to be there for you. Salespeople should look up to you in terms of what you're doing, what your vision is to grow your company. And if they don't see any progress or potential in the business that you have, they're not going to perform for you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below on why salespeople burn out. If you're in sales, comment below as well, add some of your 2 cents, and I'll reply back. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, the biggest favor you could do for me is hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, as it helps the community grow. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys here in the next video.